Today what we're going to do is we're going to find the intercepts, both the x and the y-intercept. How we find the x-intercept is we plug in a 0 for y, and how we find the y-intercept is we plug a 0 in for the x. First thing that I like to do is I like to find the y-intercept because that's the easiest of the two. In order to find the y-intercept, I'm plugging a 0 in for the x, so I get y is equal to negative 49. So that means my ordered pair is 0, negative 49. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find the x-intercept. Now, when I'm finding the x-intercept, I'm going to plug a 0 in for the y. So what I have is 0 equals x squared minus 49. In this problem, I'm going to be able to factor it using the difference of squares, and that becomes x minus 7 and x plus 7. So my x values are 7 and negative 7. That means my ordered pairs would be 7, 0, and negative 7, 0. Now I'm going to do just a quick sketch, not a graph. With the quick sketch, I have 7, and I'm going to put a dot there. I have negative 7. I'm going to put a dot here. And then I have negative 49. And so this right here is going to be my quick sketch of what our graph looks like. Let's look at the next one. For the next one, once again, I'm going to start off with my y-intercept. And my y-intercept is when I plug a 0 in for the x. So that makes it really easy. Y is equal to negative 12. So my ordered pair is 0, negative 12. My x-intercept is always a little bit more difficult. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in a 0 for the y. And so I get 0 equals x squared minus x minus 12. Just like the last one, I'm going to factor. So I'm looking for two numbers that give me negative 12. Add up to negative 1. And that would be negative 4 and 3. So what I have is x minus 4 and x plus 3. So my two x-intercepts are 4 and 3. That means my ordered pairs would be 4, 0, and 3, 0. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to give a rough sketch. This time the 4 and the 3 aren't too far, so I'm just going to do my tick marks instead of putting the actual number. And 4, 0 would be here, 3, 0 here. Negative 12 is a little bit further, so I'm just going to go down to negative 12 and put a dot. Notice that it's not symmetric, so my vertex is going to be in the middle of those 2 points. So I'm going to have it lean a little bit further down and then go back up in order to find my rough sketch. Now, my last one, this is a little bit more difficult than the other two. And the reason why is because it's not going to factor. Now, finding the intercepts is just going to be just as easy. I plug a 0 in for the x's. And what I get is y is equal to 1. So I have the ordered pair 0, 1. Now, the problem is that this doesn't factor. So two numbers that multiply together give me 1, add up to 4 doesn't work. So what I have to do is I have to use the quadratic formula. So this is my A, my B, my C. So I go x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root. 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1. And we divide it by 2 times 1. That gives me negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 all over 2. So that gives me x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 12 over 2, which is negative 4 plus or minus 2 square root of 3 over 2. And that divides to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 3. Now we run across a problem is we can't graph the square root of 3. So I'm going to take out a calculator and I'm going to plug it in, minus 2, and then plus the square root of 3. And that gives me x is equal to negative 0.27. And then I have negative 2 minus the square root of 3. And that right there gives me negative 3.73. So with my quick sketch, I have the negative 1. I have the positive 1 for the y-intercept. And then what I have is the negative 3.72 and the negative 0.27. And then since I know it's going up, this right here is what my graph is going to look like.